Welcome to the Ideal Investor Show. This is the podcast where we help you challenge your mindset and discover where you are. Tired of stories about other people's success? We can help you change your life, determine your time freedom point, and join us on the journey to financial success. Let's go. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Ideal Investor Show, where we talk with experts about how to generate cash flow, how to actually build our portfolio, and how to work with residential real estate. And we have a recurring guest here who has been with us in 2021, Marcus Maloney. How are you?
I'm doing great, Axel. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good too. Thank you. And thanks for coming back on the show for a second time. That is not very often, but we appreciate it. So since people may not have heard our first episode in 21, I want to ask you real quick, Marcus, to remind us, how did you get to where you are today?
Sure, absolutely, Axel. And thanks again for having me on a second time. I really appreciate the opportunity. So to make a long story short, I got started investing in livestock, actually. So it was pigs when I was young. And before we went to school, we had to, as every kid, you get ready to go back to school, you want to get new, fresh school clothes and everything like that. Well, we wasn't afforded the opportunity just to go and buy them. We had to learn how to invest in livestock. And then the return that we got from that livestock is what we use for our school clothes shopping. So we would buy piglets, early in the spring, $15, $20. And then we would just keep them all through the summer, fatten them up, and then take them back to the auction in late August, right? So our $15 to $20 investment could grow upwards to, $200 to $300. So that's how I got started in investing. So I learned the value of buying low and selling high, and that just kind of kept staying with me throughout my life. But for real estate, it was really my mom. She was an integral part because she started flipping houses back in the late 80s before flipping was even a thing. She was a nurse for the state. Yep. And she bought 2 raggedy houses, and me and my brother and cousins, we looked like, all right, this is just more work for us, Mom. What are you doing here? We had no idea what she was doing. And she was like, well, I just want to fix these properties up. And I don't know after that. So she got them for a steal. I think she got them for like $5,500, something like that. No, it was below $10,000. And went in and renovated them. We worked with the contractors, so we understood, how to work with contractors and everything like that. One she sold, right? And she walked away with like a $30,000, $40,000 check. And the other one we still have in our rental portfolio to this day. So you can imagine how much money we made on that one property versus the property that she fixed and flipped. So that was my foray and my introduction into real estate investing. And, fast forward some years, it kind of stuck with me, but I didn't go deep dive into it like I should have. But, the past 10 years, I just really been focusing on building that rental portfolio. And one of the things that now that I talk to you about it, Axel, I understand now how she had 2 properties. Basically, she had a case study, fix and flip versus a rental. Right. And she did the fix and flip. She got the upfront cash money, right? $30,000 to $40,000. But with that rental that we hold, imagine how much money we have made on that property. So you guys that's out there listening, you're trying to decide, hey, do I want to fix and flip or do I want to rent properties? Look at that case study. One, we made $30,000 to $40,000 on. The other one, we still hold in our portfolio to this day. Absolutely no debt on the property, and we get $950 a month for that property, and we've had that property for over 30 years.
Right. Well, and that's probably, if you were to say, okay, I need access to some money to make a next investment, you could probably get pretty
pull it right from there,
home equity line or something like that if you use it as a collateral, right?
Absolutely. And that's one of the things that we have done. We have leveraged that property a couple of times to buy other assets. So again, we know that fixing and flipping, hey, that's the rave. Everybody loves it. It's transactional, take something ugly and make it beautiful. But that's a one-time paycheck versus, that rental portfolio where you get paid continuously, month by month, year by year. And in our case, decade by decade.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, the beauty that is oftentimes not really acknowledged because it's such a long time arc is that, in a sense, the tenants actually pay the mortgage for you. You know?
But that's exactly what they're doing. And the other beautiful thing about it is, right, we get the mortgage pay down, we get the tax benefits
Right.
to offset capital gains taxes. We also get the appreciation plus the depreciation. So
Right.
we win in multiple ways, when it comes to holding property. So that's really been my focus, is just increasing that rental portfolio.
Yeah, and that's why we are such a good match, because that's exactly what we discuss and help the clients in our community as well. Now, before we turn the recording on, you told me something that I haven't even ever heard the term, group use investing.
Yes.
Or something. You got to tell us a little more what that is and how that works and what's the secret to that.
Sure. Again, so my family, we're very entrepreneurial, always been entrepreneurial, from my grandparents, great grandparents, all the way up to us now. And my grandmother, she started back in the late 70s. She started a non-for-profit, basically. She just saw the need to help kids. And from there, fast forward, we continued to help kids throughout our journey. So we was like, well, how can we marry both social aspect of helping kids and our real estate aspect? How can we merge these together? So we started bringing inner city youth to our 49-acre farm right outside of Chicago. And what we noticed was a lot of the parents was like, you know what, can you just keep our kids here, and can they go to school here? And we don't want them back in the city where it's violence and drugs and crime and everything like that. And my grandmother, she was like, I don't know how we're going to do it, but yeah, let's help these families out. So that spawned into the nonprofit getting a contract with the state of Illinois to house kids that are either had failed adoptions or they are transitioning kids. So we use our rentals or use our assets, right? And we house kids, and it's by the bed. So it's not like you get one rental property and you may get, $1,100, $1,200, $1,300 a month off of that one rental property. Well, we have it per the bed. So it could be an upwards of $400 a day per bed for these minors. Now, there's a lot more that goes into it, but because we're working both sides, we're working the social services side and the rental side. But as a real estate investor, you can purchase these properties and find other organizations that are looking for shelter places for minors, for addictive personalities, for retirees, and rent the properties per bed and not per the whole property. So we found another way to increase cash flow on our rentals. So with rental properties, there's multiple ways that you can cash flow a property. Everybody just thinks the traditional way of, okay, I'm a landlord, let me get a tenant, that one tenant for that one property. But there's multiple uses, and you have to find out what's the highest and best use for that property. And us doing the residential youth group homes just happen to be beneficial. And Axel, was it something that we planned out and charted and everything like that? Absolutely not. We just saw a need, and our family decided to fill that need, and it's been profitable for us.
Yeah, I can totally imagine that when you can basically get a daily rate. I think it's a little bit a play on kind of like Airbnb, but it sounds like you have the benefit. You're doing basically Airbnb, but you don't have to do advertising, because I'm assuming you get the occupants basically assigned to you or sent to you or something like that, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And is it work on a social services side of it? Yes. But again, if you're just want to hold that hard asset and you want to rent it out to the agencies, that's one of the things that you can do. So if your traditional rent is $1,200 a month for your rental property, you can research some of these social service agencies and you can double, triple, quadruple your rent. And then it's triple net also. So they will pay mortgage, the taxes, and insurance on the property. So it's completely hands off.
That's very interesting. And one thing that you know from our previous conversation, from a fundamental model, we are always, myself and in our community, we're always looking basically for what we call turnkey solutions, right? Like, so if somebody were to say, wow, that sounds interesting, and I'm especially interested in the social services aspect, is there somebody, maybe you or your organization or people you work with, who would basically offer this like a turnkey solution?
Yeah, they could definitely reach out to me, and I'll make sure I have my contact information towards the end. But if anybody have any questions regarding it, feel free to shoot me an email or reach out to me, and we can have a discussion and see how we can steer you in the right direction.
Yeah, the way we, just to explain that to the audience, the way we're doing something very similar right now is that we have a partnership with somebody in Cleveland, Ohio, who has built an organization that is really specializing on short-term rentals, Airbnb, VRBO, that kind of stuff. And so our community members basically purchase the property, and then the management company is basically doing all the work. They're doing, in this case, they obviously have to do the marketing to get the place booked, right? Or the rooms booked. And they do the management, they do the customer service, and obviously they get much more than you would normally get property management. Like on a regular single family home, it's like 8 to 10%. And in the short-term rental game, it's more like 25%. But on the other hand, if somebody like you or your team were to offer that, what you just described, it would probably be similarly lucrative. So yeah, we will definitely make any links to your organization available if anybody says, hey, I want to combine this social aspect with investing, but I can't be coming to Marcus' home and help doing this there, so that might be a good idea.
One of the things that I would say, Axel, too, is when you're talking about the short-term rentals, your community, probably look into midterm rentals as well. One of the things that we're seeing here in Arizona is we're starting to see a lot of legislation around the short-term rentals. But as a caveat to that, you can do midterm rentals, 30 days plus. You can still generate close to the similar returns without the extra legislation and the additional turns, the daily or weekly turns on the property. So that's one of the things that I would suggest as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a great point. Thank you for bringing that up. In our definition, short-term rental is anything between a day and 6 months. Right?
Oh, okay. Okay.
So we're kind of including that because we have cases, where some properties are being regularly used by traveling nurses or by some crews from some companies that come through every 3 months to set up like a big event or something like that. And then they, the whole thing is like over the summer, and then they're there for 4 months. But it wouldn't make sense to rent a place for a year if they only need it for 4 months. So we have recognized that midterm as well. And it's definitely a little bit of a newer development that there are more and more people or organizations that need this kind of more than a week, but not a whole year kind of thing,
And you know what, Axel? It's a lot of people, they think that, short-term rentals and midterm rentals is the new craze and everything like that. But no, what they used to call it back, in the days is just corporate housing. So when you have, CEOs or you have, administrators that's going from maybe the corporate admin office or in Pennsylvania, and they're coming out to Nevada, and they, like you said, they need a place because they're on a project for 3 months. So they only need a place for 3 months. So yeah, absolutely. It's very, very lucrative.
Yeah, there are all kinds of different use cases. I remember like when I was still more related to the aviation industry, that they sometimes, if they said, okay, we have summer routes that are only open in the summer, like to like Chicago area or like the Dakotas or stuff like that. And then they tried to find a place that they could rent close to the airport for like 6 months or 5 months or however long that summer route was open. And then the crews could stay there and didn't have to go into a hotel and be available, especially if they had to do standby, right? Like sometimes somebody gets stuff like that. So yeah, there's all kinds of innovative and creative ideas. Now, if people want to actually kind of work with you or get in touch with you or kind of see what you're offering, can you tell us a little bit what kind of deals you're actually helping people to get besides what we already discussed?
Sure. So right now I'm working with the small group. What we call is the Deal Finders Club. And basically what it is showing people how to find off-market deals, because a lot of people think that the only way that you can find deals is through a real estate agent, right? So it's through the MLS traditional ways, where we have a club where we show people how to find and how to attract deals off market. So it's basically what marketing strategies you're looking for, what's your ideal seller avatar, who are you trying to target as a seller, what are their motivation pain points. So let's just say if you want to go into a new market, let's just say Cleveland, Ohio, right? And you're looking to build your short-term rental portfolio. Well, versus going on the MLS or hiring an agent, which a lot of the properties on the MLS, sometimes they just don't pencil, right? They just don't work. So how can we find owners that own properties that may be interested in selling, but they don't want to sell traditionally with a real estate agent, or they may have a property that's, been vacant for years or something like that, and they just kind of totally not forgot about it, but just kind of left it to the side? How can you find those properties and get those properties under contract, get the renovations done, and now you have a turnkey product that you can offer to your short-term rental clients? How can you find these properties? And this is one of the things that we're teaching people right now how to do, is that there's strategic ways where you can find properties off market by just doing some innovative strategies. And I learned a lot of this because previously I was wholesaling a lot of properties. I would get properties under contract and then go find another cash end user that would purchase the property for me, and I would collect the difference. Well, a lot of those fix and flippers and landlords, they would say, you know what? I'm trying to find properties myself off market. How can I do this? And because, again, there was a need in the marketplace, we jumped in, and me and my partners started to fill that need and show people exactly how to find these properties in any market, off-market opportunities. So if you're in Detroit, or let's just say you're in California, San Diego, where the property values are extremely high and they just don't pencil, and you're looking for properties in Pittsburgh, how can I find those properties and get those properties under contract over the phone, build a team in Pittsburgh where you can start building your portfolio there? So that's one of the things that we are really, really doing, Axel, and we have been getting a lot of fanfare from people that's really out there finding deals and saving tons of money, finding those off-market opportunities.
Yeah, that's really cool. And I think that's a big need these days, because everybody got so used to, Zillow and Redfin and all that kind of basically MLS-based stuff. Now, is there any kind of fee or any kind of entry? How do you become a member of the club?
Yeah, so we have a waiting list right now. It's AZDFC. That's A as in Apple, Z as in Zebra, D as in Deal, F as in Finder, C as in Club, AZDFC.com. And there is a fee. We have a 10-week online course that you meet directly with me and my partner, and we go through everything. So if you go to AZDFC.com, you'll see all of the information there as far as the wait list. And it's really a remarkable price. I think we have it priced at $1,500. So it's not a huge entry fee or anything like that. And you get 10 weeks with 2 real estate professionals with over 20 years experience. And this Thursday, actually, for your members, Axel, this Thursday, we're doing a creative finance workshop on Zoom. So that's tomorrow at 6 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. It's a free workshop. We have Brandon Simmons that's going to talk all about creative financing, right? Because you have a lot of people that may own their property free and clear, and they want to sell it, but they don't want the huge capital gain hits from it. So how can we purchase the property and they become the bank and we pay the note to them? So how can we find those people? How can we work with people that have little to no equity in their properties? We still buy it, and it's still a deal for us that pencil, and it's still a win for the seller. So that's some of the things that we're going to be going over tomorrow at 6 p.m. And it's really mind shattering, because a lot of these techniques, again, are not new, but people forget them and they go by the wayside. So we're going to be going over, seller finance deals, how to wrap properties, wrap the existing loan, purchase properties subject to the existing loans, things like that.
Since you're speaking about financing, other than those creative ways, are you, when somebody joins the Deal Finders Club, are you also helping them with the financing? Because I think in this day and age with the high interest rates, a lot of people are a little afraid, especially if they don't have like enough money in cash to buy outright, but enough to make a down payment. How do they actually get financing?
Well, actually, and that's one of the things that we're going to be talking about tomorrow is with the creative financing, a lot of these properties you can get in with almost no money down. So instead of like traditional banks where you got to bring 20 to 30% down because you're an investor, well, because you're working directly with the seller, you can purchase these properties subject to the existing loan that's already in place. So basically, you take the seller's note over and you have a deed against the property. So the note would stay in the seller's name. The deed will be in your name. There will be a third party in between where you would make the note. You would pay the note to that third party, which then will pay the bank. And again, it's not a traditional transaction where you have to go and put 20 to 30% down. So, and we noticed this because, again, that was the problem. There was a lot of people saying, hey, we want to get into real estate, but with the interest rates at 7% plus, and with the property value soaring, it just don't make sense to get into real estate right now. And I beg to differ because right now it's actually the best time, because what will happen is shortly interest rates will have to drop at some point, right? It may be 12 months, 24 months, whatever. But when interest rates start to drop, guess what? All the buyers are going to come back into the market. Absolutely. And they're going to pay top dollar for the property. So now is the time to buy if you can hold it and weather the storm. And then you'll have a pot of gold, in the next 12 to 24 months when interest rates start stepping down the basis.
Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly what I believe too. I think we're very well aligned on that one. Now, if somebody were to say, okay, I really like what Marcus is describing, I really want to learn this, but let's assume we have that. Can you tell us a little bit where these properties are and if you and your partner are going to stay involved, or are you mainly providing the training program and then people have to learn how to do it themselves?
So what we're doing, we're providing the training. And in some cases, because we have a buy box, what we're looking for, in some cases, we will stay in the deal with the student, but it have to fit within our buy box. So right now, we're buying in Cleveland, we're buying in Illinois, some tertiary markets of Chicago, we're buying out here in Phoenix, in that Midwestern corridor,
Right. Well, I'm asking mainly because, as I said earlier, our clients are oftentimes in the really expensive markets, like you said, like San Diego, up and down California, Washington State, Boston area, New York, Miami and stuff. And like you said, those deals, if you try to do something like that anywhere in these locations, it wouldn't really work. The numbers wouldn't work. But then when you are like, let's say in LA and you want to learn the system and then you find a deal in Pittsburgh, unless you have some sort of like a turnkey deal where somebody is saying, okay, I manage it for you, then owning it without management, I think we both agree is not really a good idea.
No, it's definitely not a good idea. But we also show you, how to get your team in place. That's one of the modules is, who do I need on my team? How do I find those individuals? How do I vet those individuals so I know that they're great operators, great property managers, and they will manage my property. So yeah, all of the information is there, Axel. And one of the things that I want to tell people is at some point you have to take that initial leap, that initial step, because that's one of the things that we faced being here in the Phoenix market. Prices ran up so quick, so fast. The appreciation just doubled and tripled in a matter of 2 years. So deals that would normally pencil here don't pencil. So we had to step out and say, all right, where can we go where we can still get solid returns without a lot of management hassles and things like that? And that's how we, came up with this training system, because we had to go through it, Axel. Yeah, so it's by experience.
Yeah, and you and I think we are in a sense very similar, because I always also preach, I want to have done it myself first. And then we actually help other people. Now, you mentioned there's a waiting list. Can you estimate how long, if somebody were to say, hey, I heard Marcus on the podcast and I'm going to go on the website probably and sign up or something, how soon do you think somebody could actually start the program?
You know what? I think our next open date is September, like the first week of September. So It's not long. What we also have is where they can get into training, so they can purchase and get all of the modules, get everything, and they can start before the classes actually start. So it's like they can take the homework, start working on it, going over all of the videos and everything like that. And then when we come to a group in September, they'll actually be ahead of the group, and then they can ask questions and everything like that for the next 10 weeks. So even though we have a waiting list, we do have it where there's an online option where they can just go in and purchase right now and get all of the resources.
Yeah, that's very cool. So thank you for explaining that. Now, What do people have to put in to actually find that?
They can go to marcusemaloney.com. That's marcusemaloney.com. And then you'll see up at the banner, it would say, you put me on the spot here, Axel, training resources, I believe. What I'll do, I'll send you a link. And then that way, whoever's interested, they can go there.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to put that in the show notes. And I mean, if people hear this podcast a little bit later after September, then I'm sure you're going to have more classes, every 10 weeks, basically.
Mm-hmm. Yep, absolutely.
Okay, very cool. So any other last things that you want to share with the audience?
I just want to let everybody know that they're in the right spot. Getting education from you, Axel, and listening to these podcasts, this is exactly what you need to start. But one of the things that I always lean on is, I always tell people is, education without implementation is just information. So you can sit here and you can watch Axel, all day, every day, listen to every podcast, take every note. But if you don't implement it and take action, then it's just information. You're just gathering information, and information is not hard to find out there nowadays, right? With social media and everything like that. But it's those who actually take action and implement what they learn are the ones that move themselves forward. So guys, just take the information that Axel is providing and implement it. That's the big thing, the big takeaway that I want to give you guys today.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate your kind words on that, Marcus. I think the kind of second part to that, is that people feel obviously more comfortable when they have somebody like you or somebody like me or somebody in a similar role, where number one, we can say, I can show you what I have done, exactly the same thing that I'm telling you or teaching you. But then also to some extent, and I don't mean that in any kind of demeaning way, but really in a heartfelt way, take people by the hand and say, okay, if you have a question, if you don't know something, feel free, shoot me an email, send me a WhatsApp, whatever it might be, so that I can help you through the process. Because even though, we have the same thing, we have online learning as well, and we have mentoring sessions, but only when you're really in, like you said, the doing, the actual execution of a deal can all these questions come up. And every deal is a little different, right? So having somebody who is basically holding your hand and looking out for you, I think makes the whole process way, way better than trying it by yourself.
It does, because you know what it does, Axel? It gives them confidence, right? I was just talking to a person this morning, because I do like 15-minute free consultations. And I was talking to an individual this morning, and she was basically has a deal lined up to where the appraised value is like $350. The person is behind on their mortgage, like $30,000. The person is willing to sell it for like $150. It's a deal, right? Slam dunk deal. I said, well, let me help you with it. She was like, well, I don't know what to do. And because I don't know what to do, I just don't want to move forward. And I said, well, you don't know what to do because you don't have the confidence and you don't have the resources needed to execute this opportunity. And by me working with her, now I'm starting to work with her so she can execute on this opportunity. Now I'm starting to see she's starting to become more vibrant. She's asking questions like, oh, I didn't know that we can do this. Now she's taking the bull by the horn to get out there. So I think a part of that fear is just basically lack of confidence. And you only gain confidence by having someone like yourself, Axel, a strong leader that's been down the road before, that can say, hold my hand, I'll show you exactly what to do.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you. So I want to thank you again for making the time. I want to tell the audience that we're going to put the link in. And for anybody who is already in our group, I will send out the email with the invitation. And be aware, if you go to marcusemaloney.com, you will find the access to the Deal Finder Club, and you can line up there, and whenever you listen to this or watch this, get into the next group and learn how to do it. So Marcus, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you so much, Axel. I really appreciate it.
All right, thank you.